Every day you're getting up with a knot in your stomach, getting ready to head into work. It's like going back in time to high school. I've been in the workforce for 40 years and I've worked in many toxic environments. You show up to work, you've got the teacher's pet, you've got, the gossiping, the backstabbing, the setting up camps of who's on one side, who's on the other side, the tattling. And it's almost like you're back in grade 9. You hate your job, you hate going into work, but you can't quit. You've got a mortgage to pay, you've got other bills to pay, you've got kids to put through school. Today I'm going to talk about how I have survived 40 years in the workforce and how you also can survive. By definition, the word toxic means extremely harsh, malicious, or harmful. And you may have either a toxic coworker, a toxic boss, or just a toxic work environment. Maybe the culture in the office is very toxic. But, this toxicity, it does nothing but drain your mental health. It drains your productivity. You just kind of become numb. So today I'm going to share with you the top 6 things that you can do to survive a toxic work environment, because we can't all just up and quit. Most of us need our jobs. We need the money. We have bills to pay, a mortgage, rent, vehicles. So it's not that easy to just pick up and walk out the door, even though most of the time we kind of would like to. Over the course of my 40 years working, I've discovered you're not there specifically just to do your job. When you're in the workforce, you're there to manage relationships. That's basically what you're doing all day. You're managing the relationship with your manager, with your coworkers, people from the public, whatever it is that your job is. And I got thinking about this video today on my way home from work, actually, because I have a couple coworkers, one in particular that's really challenging to work with. And last night, I was coming up with all of the things in my head I was going to say to her today when I went into the office. And we only go into the office twice a week. The rest of the time I work from home. So, and her office is beside mine. So I had all these things planned, comebacks for basically all the things I figured she was going to come into my office and complain about today. Thankfully, she didn't. But I had all these things planned, all these comeback lines, comments. And then I got to the office and of course, none of it was said, because I think we get to work and we don't say how we feel. We don't communicate. We don't call people out on their bad behavior. We just sit and manage relationships all day. We put up with everyone else's crap and nonsense. It might be coming from your manager. It might be coming from the coworker or people from the public. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, because I think it's important for us to all learn how to manage these toxic work environments, because we can't all just get up and quit. Let's get to the 6 things that you can do to survive that toxic work environment. And the most important thing is to protect your mental health at all costs. And these 6 things should help with at least letting you just get through that crappy job, that toxic environment, until maybe something better can come along, until your situation changes. Number 1 is that you have to set boundaries. There has to be a limit to what you do. There has to be very clearly defined boundaries. There's going to be no replying to work emails outside of work hours. Do not answer your work cell phone or reply to messages. Make sure you're taking your lunch, your full lunch, and your breaks. And when you're taking your breaks and your lunch, try to leave the building. Go outside, go somewhere else, get away from that toxic culture that's there in your office, get away from those toxic people, whatever it is, just get out of there. And when I think about that lady that I work directly with now, this has been a common pattern over the years of working. There's always an issue with someone. And I think when there's so many women working in the same place, this is what causes a lot of the issues. I hate to say, but I think it's the truth. And there's always, these people that they're all best friends, and then you're on the outside, and then there's some sort of a disagreement, and then they create camps where some people are on this side, and then they bring their friend and they gossip to that person to make sure that that person's on their side as well. There's, the teacher's pet, they're, kissing up to the managers to get everything that they want. Me personally, my personality is that I've never been one to do that. I am not kissing anyone's ass. I am not sucking up to anyone. I go to work, I do my job, and I expect that I'm going to get credit based on the work that I do. I am not kissing up to anyone. Number two is to not engage in the toxicity. Stay away from those gossipers. Don't take sides. Don't join camps. Over the course of the 26 years working where I am, when I first started, I never joined, teams, sides, whatever. There were the little cliques throughout the office, and I never joined any of these cliques. I hated cliques in high school, and I still hate them. And that's what work feels like. It feels like you're back in high school with all these bullies and these popular girls and the mean girls. That is what work is. And I chose to not join any of these little groups. And that has served me really well because I was never involved in any of the drama. And there's a lot of drama when there's a lot of women working together. I have some stats here that I wanted to share with you. And it's no surprise why there's so many issues because a lot of the workforce in offices are women. And so from the Bureau of Labor Stats in the US, it states that women make up over 52% of the workers in US management, professional, and related office-based occupations. And when specifically looking at the broad office and admin support sector, women represent 72% of the workforce. And in Canada, it's very similar. We have also a large percentage of the workforce of females working in office-related jobs. Now, in particular, occupations that are in education, law and social, community, government services, that's all office-related jobs. It's 69% in Canada. It's kind of obvious that this is why there's a lot of issues. Now, honestly, my experience over the years, I've been in public service for 26 years. I've worked in different departments in public service, but I've been there at the same corporation for 26 years. And then over the course of those years, I've had multiple different managers. And I've only ever had one male manager. Actually, I had him twice. I had him originally many years ago. Then after I had my kids, he ended up being my manager again. That's the only manager in my 26 years in public service that I didn't have an issue with. All of the other ones were women, and it was nothing but problems. And at one point, I had this most horrible manager for several years. She played favorites with all the staff. She would basically order me around like I was a 4-year-old. She was very much a bully. And I remember there was one instance where there was something going on in the office, and there was another coworker who was one of the teacher's pets. And the manager literally barged on down to my office, walked in, stomping her feet, and ordered me with her finger, "You're going to do this." And I went to the union. Nothing was done. This woman was a complete bully. So my days working with her were horrible because I couldn't leave. I couldn't find a placement anywhere else. I was basically stuck. And I had to stay in that job also because of the location. It was very convenient to dropping my kids off at school. So if I was to leave, that would have really disrupted the school schedule. So I was stuck with this woman. She was a horrible witch. And so really the only thing I could do was just bide my time. I waited for my kids to, finish school. It's not really the most ideal situation at times, but it's not always easy to just up and leave. The third thing is to identify in your own mind what the problem is. In my case, with my coworker, that is a problem. I know that there are issues. And in most cases, if there are issues with people, it's usually them. It's usually not you. And I try to give people the benefit of the doubt that maybe they're going through something, maybe they have mental health struggles, maybe they've got anxiety, maybe they're not able to, do the job the way that they can. Who knows, right? With this coworker, I know that she does have anxiety and different struggles. And that does affect her ability to do the job fully. So when things happen, I always revert back to that thinking, I know she has some issues. I'm not going to take this personally. I know that there's more to this than what I'm seeing. But she's also the type of person who will come into my office and ask me random questions about my personal life. She will ask me random questions about work. And she's also the type of person who does try to create these camps. And she's a bit of a pot stirrer. She loves to come in and stir the pot about the manager. And I love my manager. This current manager, she's great. She's probably the only female manager that I've ever had that actually was really good, very supportive, encouraging, treats you with respect, treats you like an adult. But for whatever reason, this lady does not get along well with the manager. So what she does is she'll come to me and she's just trying to stir the pot. She'll say negative things about the manager, try to get me into the conversation. She'll do that with another coworker, go into her office. And she's very kind of like calculating in how she does things. She'll come in very quietly, and I know she has an agenda. So yeah, just once you've identified where the issues are, that does help you understand more why things are happening. And in that case, you can, try to distance yourself from those people. I spend as little time as possible with this lady. We both have our own offices. I don't go out of my way to get out of my office and go and see her. It's kind of, although she does come to me more frequently, just to get information, to gossip, and to talk badly about the manager, try to stir up the pot. So it's people that do create this toxic culture, because this stirring the pot, talking about people behind their back, that creates all of the issues. And that's why I say, just limit yourself. Don't be too involved with these people. And obviously don't share too much information with these people. Now, speaking of coworkers, try to at least find one or two allies, people that you can trust. Now, there's a lot to be said about this, because people will say you absolutely can't trust anyone in the workforce. And that's kind of true. I have my allies, people that I know I can trust with certain things, but a lot of things I do not discuss at work, even with the people that I've worked with for a long time, my allies. There are people from work that I do, will go out for dinner and have coffee outside of work. There's very few of those. I think in my 26 years working in this same corporation, there are maybe 2 or 3 people from work that I would trust and that I do go out with outside of work. Other than that, no, I don't trust people. But you do want to at least have, even if it's a superficial ally, just people that have similar values, similar feelings about work, because it's always good to have at least someone on your side. And they're also probably just trying to survive the toxic place that you're working at. Okay, we're actually at number 5. My counting's been off. The most important thing too also is to protect your health outside of work. Work is just that. It's just work. It's a means to support your lifestyle. It's a means to keep you busy, to keep you occupied. And if you're miserable at work, but also miserable at home, well, this is a recipe for disaster. So if you improve your health at home, whether it's, going to the gym, doing your hobbies, doing your, whatever extracurricular activities. And I actually did a video about that, which I'll share here, about what I do at night to keep myself busy. And I think it's really important for us to all have something in our lives that bring us joy. Because if you're miserable at home and then you're going to a miserable, rotten job, your health is going to decline very rapidly. Okay, number 6, and the final point to help you to survive your toxic workplace is to keep track of everything. Make notes. It seems very silly, and it's only if there's a serious issue that you think would be of concern. So in my case, as I mentioned before, I had that horrible, rotten, nasty manager who was a bully. I should have been writing down all of the horrible, nasty things that she was doing. And what she also did to me, I've been 26 years at this corporation. Now, when she was my manager, that was about 5 years ago. So I was 20 years in. So she would do my performance reviews, and she would give me a horrible performance review. I mean, I've been working 20 years in this corporation. And I always prided myself on my work ethics. I work very hard. I care about my work. So that was one thing that she did to me, just to be a spiteful, what. And because I would question her, but she always had a really good comeback. And of course, she's the manager, so she was the person of authority. And I'm the type that, yes, I follow authority. And so I should have been documenting all of those things that she did to me, because when I finally did go to the union rep to complain about her, they were basically like, well, and the problem too was that the union rep was one of her buddies. So there was nothing I could do. And I hadn't written down all of the things. So when I finally did go to the union rep, there was really just the one incident that I could really kind of report. But had I written everything down, that would have really helped me. So if there are issues, whether it's with coworkers, managers, whatever the case is, make notes, keep a diary somewhere where you're writing down the dates and what happened so that you have evidence of what's been going on. Okay, friends, none of us like to work in an environment that is toxic and miserable. So I hope that today I've shared some really good, valuable tips for you. It's been 40 years I've been working. I've worked in a lot of different departments, and the patterns I've seen are all the same. It's all women. It's very much backstabbing, taking sides. It is like high school all over again. And I hated high school. It was horrible. There's all the mean girls, the bullies. So if you're in an environment like that, I encourage you to, take these steps. They do help, but also figure out what your escape plan is, how you're going to get out of there, whether it's taking some classes, it's, posting for other jobs. And in the meantime, do these things just to survive. But it's never good to be in a toxic environment. It affects your health so much. And if you can get out, get out. I worked 20 years in one specific department, and this was the most toxic department that I'd ever worked in, but I felt stuck. I didn't think I could go anywhere. I was restricted because, as I mentioned, the location was convenient. I had to take my kids to and from school. It was on the way. So I was really stuck, and I was miserable for a long, long time. And finally, kind of the stars aligned, I guess we'll say. My kids were done school at that location. I did a bit of upgrading, so I was able to just get myself out of there. That was the only solution, was getting out of there. So I hope this video has been of some value. Please let me know what your suggestions are for dealing with all of these toxic people, these toxic environments, what your experiences have been. I'm going to sign out now. I'm going to try this protein raspberry muffin that I mentioned that I'd made this earlier this evening, finish up my coffee, and until next time, bye for now.